Hi, I'm Caroline.
And I'm Megan.
And this is The Songwriter Diaries,
a podcast by songwriters for songwriters.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hi.
On today's episode of the podcast, we have the incredible Daniel Kim Ethridge or Ethridge?
Ethridge.
It's Ethridge. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't second guess myself. / I should have asked you during the countdown when we had time. And
It's
now
okay.
we're here. Hey, we're
It's
just
okay.
a very transparent podcast here. So,
So true.
so can you just start by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself and your experience in the music industry?
Yeah. I moved to Nashville 10 years ago this August. I moved to Nashville to go to Belmont University. I spent my childhood in Long Beach, California, right below Los Angeles. And we moved to Austin when I was in junior high. And my parents aren't musical, but my mom forced me to learn piano at a young age, as
Good mom.
most Korean mothers do. And so I started playing piano when I was really young, and then in third grade, I believe, in Long Beach Unified School District where I went to school, they introduced orchestra as an after-school
Wow.
program. So my mom was like, "You can quit the piano if you learn how to play a string instrument." And
Ooh.
so I had seen Yo-Yo Ma play the cello on Sesame Street,
Oh,
and I was like, I'm not kidding. Like, I remember that. Yo-Yo Ma was
That's
with
amazing.
Elmo, and he was playing the cello, and I was like, "That's an orchestra. I'll do that."
that's so cute.
And so I started playing the cello, and then I did that all through high school, and then we moved to Texas. And once we got to Texas, I had started playing guitar, admittedly, because Guitar Hero had become really popular, but also Camp Rock had come out,
Yeah.
and
So you wanted to be Yo-Yo Ma and Joe Jonas.
I wanted to be Nick Jonas.
Okay,
You know,
valid.
Specify.
Yeah. Well, because so the big thing there with the guitar is I'd always loved like classic rock. My dad's a little older. My dad was born in the 50s, and so in our house I grew up with a lot of the Beatles and the Beach Boys and the Rolling Stones, and then all of Motown.
You just broke
Um,
my heart. I love the Beach Boys because of my
yes,
dad. So,
yes, well,
yep,
and also like I grew up in Southern California, so like we listened to the Beach Boys going
yep.
to Huntington Beach and Seal Beach, and like it was just
Yes.
my
That's the dream.
childhood. And so I always loved the guitar. And then in middle school, we moved to Texas. Guitar Hero gets super popular. And my dad's like, instead of melting your brain playing this damn video game, why don't you learn how to play the actual guitar? And then at the same time, I just remember, again, you have to keep in mind, I'm like a 12-year-old boy. And I'm like, I see Camp Rock. And I'm like, girls
Mhm.
love the Jonas Brothers. The
Ding,
Jonas
ding,
Brothers play the guitar. Therefore, if I play the guitar,
Mhm. Mhm.
so I started
Makes
playing the
sense to
guitar.
me.
Yeah. And so I like played in garage bands and high school bands all through high school, and I did that. And then I came to Belmont, and when I first moved to Nashville, I came to Belmont as a commercial voice major. So I was going to school to be in the School of Music and as a voice major, and I was also taking guitar classes because I really just wanted to be Dan Huff when I moved to Nashville. I just wanted to be like the guitar guy,
Mhm.
and I had started playing like cover gigs and stuff downtown and playing guitar for other people. And I was sitting in class with my guitar professor one day, and I was like, I kind of hate this. And he was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, and I was like, I don't want to be playing other people's songs all the time. And
Mhm.
he had said basically to tell me like, shut up. He was like, well, then just write better songs. And I
He
remember,
called you out.
at this point, I'm like 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember when he said it though, I was kind of like, that's a good idea. Like, just write better songs. And so,
Yeah.
I'd started, co-writing with my classmates, and and kids that I was going to Belmont with. And it's funny now looking back, like I know for sure one of my first co-writers, but I kind of think my first co-write was Emily Landis, who, has now had her first number one and has done all
Oh,
this. And I'm like, I was just like learning how to write songs with other people. And it's funny now to look back on like the people that were so formative in my life because we were all students just trying to figure it out. Like
Yeah.
we've gone on and started our careers and been able to do this professionally. And so I go to Belmont, and I know it's long, but it's 10 years. Um, I,
We love
I,
it.
I,
yeah,
I
we
go to
love it.
Belmont. I go to Belmont, and about a year and a half in, or after my first year, I get into the bluegrass ensemble at Belmont.
Love.
Um, and the director of the bluegrass ensemble was Tammy Rogers King, who's the fiddle player in the SteelDrivers. Um, and so, literally, my second year in the group, my second year in the group is when she won her Grammy. So I was like, yeah, I can never question anything my professor tells me ever,
Oh
ever,
my
So,
gosh.
my second year in the group is when Brenna Wheeler joined the group, and Brenna is important because Brenna is the fiddle player in the band I tour in and am in called Troubadour Blue. And Tammy Rogers, our professor, is also now our producer. Um, and so I finished school. I went all 4 years. I got my degree. I dropped out of the School of Music. I ended up getting a degree at the Curb College at Belmont, which is funny because I am now signed as a staff writer at Curb Publishing, which is like mind-boggling
Oh
to
my
me.
gosh, full
Whoa, it's meant to
circle.
be.
Yeah, but I finished at Belmont, and during my time at Belmont, I was like this close to signing a publishing deal at a big publishing company here in Nashville, and then 2 years later, I was going to sign another publishing company here in town, and then that office went out of business. And it was just all sorts of stuff, and for years, I felt like I was this close, and I just honestly kept falling short, and it was really hard, and I was really frustrated and having a hard time, and so I graduate in 2017, and then about in 2019, I had texted Tammy, who I hadn't talked to really since I'd graduated, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. What do I do? And she was like, well, you should text Brenna and see what she's doing. And little did I know, she had had the same conversation with Brenna the week before.
Oh,
So we started this band, and we started writing and doing all this, and then 2020 happened, and the world ended, and we're like, well, I guess we don't need to release a record. We'll just keep writing. And Brenna hadn't really co-written before, so she was kind of learning the ropes of co-writing. And then
Yeah.
Brenna's brother Eli ended up also joining the band because he was about to graduate from college and he was unemployed. And I was like, you don't have anything better to do. Come join our band. And
Yeah.
he joined the band, and then in 2021 we kept writing, and then we started touring with the SteelDrivers because of Tammy, and so we were
oh,
opening for them. And then in 2022 we hit the road more because this is 23, right? Yes.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So 22,
It
I
took me a
started saying
second.
it. I was like, am I counting right?
What year is it? Where am I?
Yeah. So 22 we started touring a lot more and doing all sorts of stuff, and we signed at our booking agency, which is Conway, and then we played the Ryman with the SteelDrivers,
Oh,
So cool.
and then just last month I signed my publishing deal at Curb, and
Yes.
Troubadour Blue started releasing music, and there are lots of things I skipped over in there, but it has been a journey, and now we're here.
oh my gosh. I honestly am so glad that you went through like all 10 years because I feel like that truly shows that like there are those overnight sensations, but it takes time, perseverance to get to where you want to be and get to where you are. So that's really cool.
Mhm.
So thanks for sharing all
Well,
the
yeah,
ups
thank
and
you.
downs.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not all
you
easy.
Um,
so many people in Nashville that have like the 10-year limit of like
Yeah.
or the 5-year limit, whatever they decide.
yeah.
It's like I'm gonna go here for this
Mhm.
amount of time, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm gonna leave.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you made it the 10-year. I mean, you made it in the 5-year too, with
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
you that you did, but the tenure, you got a deal now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so much of it was just that I I didn't want to quit. And you know how a lot of times people are really passionate and they're like, I don't want to quit because I love this. To
Mm-hmm.
be honest, I think a lot of it was I don't want to quit because a bunch of you told me I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm going to do it because I know I can, and you don't get to define where this goes for me. And I had a lot
Yeah.
of people say no, and I regularly still have plenty of people say no. And that's just kind of what it is. And I think as I've gotten older, I've become more comfortable with who I am as a person and as an artist and as a writer. And I'm like, if you don't like it, that's okay. But there are people that do, and so
Mm-hmm.
you just kind of keep skipping down your own path.
Yeah.
La 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 la
Yeah.
la. So kind of speaking about your pub deal you recently signed, do you have any advice for those who may be wanting to sign their own deals in the future? How did you get there?
Well, that's a great question. Um, Time
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
you know, and for a lot of people, it doesn't take 10 years. It takes I have plenty of friends that came to town, and all of a sudden in 3 weeks they had all this buzz, and then 7 weeks later they're signed, and I'm like, holy shit. And it's awesome. Like, and for some
Yeah.
people, they hit town like a freaking meteor, and it just works. And then for someone like me that doesn't have that splash factor, it takes 10 years, and it takes all kinds in what we do. For me personally, I think a lot of it was, continuing to show up for work and do your best every day. And then also, there's in what we do, I think there's a lot of serendipity and luck that goes along with it.
Hmm.
I I had worked with Sarah Schumacher when she was working somewhere else at a publishing company, and then she started working at Curb, and I'd been friends with Sarah the whole time, so I started writing with some people at Curb, and then I was very fortunate that Sarah had put me in the room with my band and Rose Falcon and Alex Klein, and Rose, I don't know exactly how the conversations went, but Rose, I guess, had said to Sarah basically, "Hey, Daniel doesn't suck." And then, we had a couple more rights, and then is my understanding is that Rose then went to Rodney. Rodney Atkins is her husband, and she went to Rodney, and she was like, "Hey, this kid kind of maybe doesn't suck." And then one day Sarah texted me. She's like, "Hey, do you want to write with Rodney?" And I was like, "Yes, yes." And then
Yeah.
No.
I wrote with Rodney a few times, and then the reason I have my Curb deal, which I didn't mention earlier because my brain is melting, is um Rodney signed me. I'm in a joint venture at Curb with Rodney Atkins and Rose and Curb.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of it has to do with showing up for work and doing your best because I went in that first right with Rose, and she was like, I believe in this thing. And then she went and said something to Rodney, and then now we're here.
So, what does your day-to-day songwriting process look like?
Um, it involves a lot of me talking to myself and, you know, trying to be observant. A while back, Brenna and Eli in the band were good friends with their parents too, because they're all from Nashville. And
Mm.
a while back, Eric, their dad, said to me that he was like, he's like, it's my understanding that great songwriters are probably just really good observers of the world around them. And
Mm.
I was like, wow, that's a grown ass thought. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that is brilliant. And I think about that almost every day when I'm sitting down to be a songwriter. I'm married, I have a wife, we have cats. Like the way that I carry myself every day in my life affects people around me, and so observing how that works and seeing how my relationships work and matter to other people, and just uh, I think this question can be like such a big thing, which is why I'm kind of like swimming around it. But um, my favorite aspects of songwriting are the it's the fact that in songs you can zoom in to a very small moment in day-to-day life and extrapolate 3 minutes of art from it.
Mm.
And I think Stapleton has these moments, like in that song Scarecrow in the Garden, that are just these stories. That song's, it's a story about a guy that's a farmer that he inherited this land that he kind of didn't want, and now it's not working. He's like, what do I do? And Yesterday by the Beatles, Paul McCartney sitting there. I remember hearing Yesterday when I was 15 and I'd gone through my first breakup.
Oh,
And I remember hearing Yesterday for the first time when I was 15 and like really resonating with that song.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, the song was written like 50 years ago and it still translates. And so
Yeah.
I don't have like a hard and fast like regiment for how I write songs. I try to like I try to exist in the world and allow creativity to hit me too, but also the part that is something that can be reps is like sit down and try to discuss things as succinctly as possible,
Mm.
um, and allow them to be beautiful as they are. Because I think everyday life is, yeah, I think everyday life is heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's a struggle, and it's people working every day to feed their families and wishing they could do something else or being happy or whatever. And I think everyone's story and existence matters, and so it's just trying to see all of it and then be the one that happens to have the pen that gets to write the story. So I don't know if I answered that well, but those are my thoughts.
You
wow.
answered it
No.
beautifully.
Yeah. That was so poetic. No wonder
We
you're
just start sobbing. We're like, you're right.
uh,
Oh my God.
kind of going off of that, just rolling right into the next one. What do you think is the most important element of a song?
I think I'm going to answer this, and then it's also going to explain why it took me so long to get a pub deal. Um, I think that the most important element of a song isn't necessarily the hookiness or the catchiness of it, but
Mm.
the honesty and the intent behind it. Um,
Snap.
Say it
I
again
think,
for the people in the back.
it's just someone someone said to me a long time ago when I was a younger songwriter trying to figure out where I fit in the music industry. They're like, look, you're not going to out Craig Wiseman. Craig Wiseman, dude, he already exists, and can I swear on here? Is that allowed?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, you
Craig,
can.
he's the fucking man. Like Ashley Gorley, Craig, Rodney Clawson, like these guys are the
Mm.
best at what they do. You can emulate it and you can do that thing if you want to, but you're never going to outdo them at what they do. And so you have to understand what you do and go for it. And to me, the most important thing about songwriting and creating art is how hard you're willing to chase the truth behind it. Because not every song that I write or we write is a nonfiction piece, but every piece of fiction has a thread of truth within it, and that's why it connects to people. And you have to be willing to be vulnerable with yourself and your co-writers and the storyline, and you have to be willing to go there. And so that's what I think is the most important thing about songwriting.
I think you should just take over this podcast, honestly.
No,
Yeah.
no, because I would just talk like about stupid
that's the
shit,
point.
I love it. I love it. I'm sitting here and I'm waiting for you to keep going. And then I'm like, oh no, right. We're hosting it. Got it. I'm just like, oh, we're in a master class right now.
No,
I
no,
love it.
far, far from it.
No, this is great.
So you've toured a lot with your band and opening for the SteelDrivers. I was curious if you have a favorite venue or city that you've ever played in.
Favorite venue is the Ryman, hands down, billion times
Mhm.
over, till I fucking die. It's the Ryman.
Yep. Yep. It's a good one.
Um, favorite city? Favorite city is Austin for me because
Mm,
that's where we
uh-huh.
moved, when we left California. And I just remember being a teenager and like sneaking into clubs to see shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And, as I get older and I go deeper into my career, we get to play these like bigger and better stages in Austin. And they were these, I mean, forget about like bands, like there were venues in Austin that I idolized,
Hmm.
like the Ryman in my life is the top venue ever, but
Hmm.
for me, like the pinnacle moment for me would probably be playing Austin City Limits, the TV show.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
so it's like I have those goals. I think about them all the time. I have them written down. And so yeah, venue wise, the Ryman City, Austin, because I I think there are so many ways and so many venues in Austin that I haven't played yet that I know would really make like my teenage self really proud, and that
Yeah.
that is what I'm chasing with everything that I do. And so yeah, Austin.
Love that.
Love it. So I just saw Ed Sheeran on Saturday, and he played a Ryman show like the night
Yes.
before or something.
Hmm.
And he was saying that the Ryman is his favorite venue in the US.
Hmm.
So it has that going for it too. Ed's
Yeah.
stamp of approval.
It, I'm telling you, there's when we played it last year, and I've told this to people before, but we've played a bunch of shows. I've played a bunch of shows in my life. Like I was on American Idol. Like I've had a lot of eyeballs on me before, and like it's
Mhm.
like that part isn't scary to me. But when we start our set, we start with a song called "Love Me," and it's an a cappella cold open. Like you're just
Love
fucking going right. And
Wow.
I was so scared when we started the set that I couldn't look up. So I'm like, I have my hat on. I always have my Dodger hat on everywhere I go, and I'm like looking down and kind of looking at the brim of my hat, right?
Mhm.
And as we settle into the first verse, I started looking up, and I could see the stained glass windows and the sun coming through
Mhm.
them, and I wanted to cry. Like I just couldn't believe we were up there. And so yes, Ed is correct. It's just there's nothing like
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, so side note, you're on American Idol?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You just dropped that so casually.
Yeah, that was so
Well,
casual.
it was a long time ago. Um, sorry, I'm also like sitting in front of a big monitor, and I'm like, oh, the lighting is decent like this, and my monitor just
Yeah,
fell
your lighting
asleep.
looks great.
Yeah.
Yes, I try. It's really just I leave Gmail open because it's super bright and white,
Hmm.
and it's like,
Yep.
and it doesn't look like I have a ring light on my face, and like it's just way more
Yeah.
effective.
Yeah.
Um, so 17, I graduate college, 2018, I think. It was the first season that American Idol came back. Um,
Wow.
I I got recruited by like the producers that do the show, and so I like went and I sang for somebody at the Hutton Hotel, and they're like, "You're great. You're gonna move on to the filmed auditions." And then I auditioned, and get this, this was terrible. I was the last person to audition on my day. So
So
it
you
was
waited all day.
I waited all fucking day. Um because so you get there at like 8 in the morning, right?
Oh,
And
Jesus.
I don't think I'm not exaggerating. There are probably ways to check this. I probably didn't sing until like 9:30.
PM?
And yes, like I was the last person. And
That's a
so
long fucking day.
I sat there all day, and I went in and I sang a Chris Stapleton cover, and then oh, this is fun. So I sang my Stapleton cover, and then they cut me off, and uh I think it was Katy Perry. It was like, it says you're a songwriter, and I was like, oh God, yes. And they're like, well, sing us a song that you wrote, and I and you like talk through what you're going to do for your audition. I really didn't think this was going to happen
Mm.
because before you go on the show, y'all work in music, you know this. You have to clear things, like as far as
Yeah.
copyright is concerned.
Yeah.
I hadn't cleared anything, and they knew that. So
Yeah.
then I was like, well, I can't sing anything I've co-written because they might not let me through because they won't be able to air it. And I was like, oh God, what do I do? And so I had one song that I was proud of that I had written 100%. And it was called One Day They'll Know My Songs, and it's on Spotify, and you can go look it up. But it was about my little sister, and I'm 11 years older than my sister. And at the time, like a few months before that, my sister had gotten bullied at school a little bit because she kept telling all the kids at school that I was famous. And I clearly was still not. But at the time, I was like super not. And so I had written a song for my sister about that, right? Like, I promise you one day they'll know my songs. So in the moment, the only song I could think of was that song. And so I played it, and it got me my golden ticket. And that song aired on national television. And it was awesome. Like, I was like, it did it. The song did the thing. Like, my little
That's
Bluebird song
incredible.
that would never be cut by anybody went on TV, and it was sick. And so, yeah, that's my American Idol story.
Wait, so how far did you make it?
I went to Hollywood, and I like did a couple rounds at Hollywood, and then they sent me home. And I just remember for my like exit, and I was like, at the time, I guess I was like 22, and I was one of the oldest people on the season because everyone auditioning was like 15 and 16, so I was like
Oh my
ancient to
God.
them. But
Wild.
I just remember like I had become friends with all the crew and the producers because I was like, oh yeah, this is all bullshit. This is hilarious, right?
Mhm.
And so they're like, well, we want to do your like exit interview, like your filmed interview. And so they like put the camera on me, and they're like, can you tell us how sad you are? I was like, dude, I'm fucking stoked. I get to go home. I get to sleep in my own bed. I don't have to sign that record deal. Like, because
Yeah.
I didn't make it to live TV, like they couldn't option me into anything. Not that I was like
Yeah.
commercial enough for them to ever option me, but I was just like,
Yeah.
this is awesome. Coolest moment from Idol. They never aired this. I did for my like solo song at Hollywood. I did like imagine I want to dance with somebody, but like in the style of Jason Isbell, like that kind of like sad, slow.
Love it.
Love
And
that.
so I do it. Yeah, I think it just like clearly was not commercial enough for what they wanted, which is fine.
Mhm.
But afterwards, I get off stage and you're like on camera and they're like, how'd you feel? Blah, 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 blah. And I was the last person to go in my row for that. And so
Wait, this isn't
as
fair.
I'm
Why
on
are you always
camera,
last?
I don't know. I think honestly, I think it was they were treating me like I was some music industry veterans. Like he knows what he's doing. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, dude. Like I'm gonna go back to
22.
Nashville. I'm gonna go back to Nashville and like work at the freaking Green Hills Mall, back to my part-time job. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But as I'm on camera, the judges are like going for their lunch break, and Lionel Richie. This is on tape somewhere. I want it. I just don't know how to get it. But Lionel Richie like pops his head like through the curtain, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, young man, I was friends with Whitney Houston, and she would have loved that." And just walks away. It's
Literally like mic drop. Oh my
it's
God.
it's making me tear up now. I just remember like so he like walks away, and it was like The Office. I just turn back and I look at the camera, and I'm just crying because he like kind of held my shoulders and said it, and just like kept going. I was like,
Why am I
Okay.
crying right now?
If anyone from American Idol is listening to this podcast, get us
Give
the.
us this video.
You can die happy now. Like that is
Yeah.
the ultimate compliment.
Right. So that was
Wow.
yeah, that was my American Idol experience, and I have nothing against the show. I think the whole production of the show is awesome, and I mean, I remember calling in and voting for Kelly Clarkson during season 1. I was like 6 years old, so like
Mhm.
I'm all about American Idol. I'm a huge fan of the whole deal.
That's iconic.
Wow. Honestly, you had the best experience. I would take that compliment over winning American Idol any day.
Oh, absolutely. Wow.
Man.
So if you could put a bill together with you and 3 other artists, dead or alive, who
Hmm.
would you choose?
The Eagles.
Love that.
That was not what I was expecting, but I
Me
also love it.
either.
Yeah, the Eagles with all of the original members. Also, Vince Gill can be up there because he's fucking Vince Gill.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get that straight. Okay, the Eagles, the Beatles.
Oh! Yeah.
Fuck it, and John Mayer.
You're the
John
second
Mayer.
person to say John Mayer.
Dude, okay, I'm gonna be honest. I wanted to be cool and not say John Mayer, but I have this pet peeve. For some reason, in the past few years, all these like dudes under the age of like 30 now want to act like we didn't start getting obsessed with the guitar because of John Mayer.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
but we
Nick Jonas.
fucking did.
Yes.
You know, like
Mhm.
I don't play the electric guitar a lot in my band because we do like Americana type stuff, so I'm normally playing
Mhm.
acoustic. But man, I really like grew to love the guitar and became obsessed with the guitar because of him and Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix and all the guys because
Mhm.
you know, you like find your dude and then you find his source material and that's what you're supposed to do. But like, holy shit, I know every freaking note of Continuum and Battle Studies and Born and Raised
Yep.
and
Oh, I
Paradise
do love
Valley.
Born and Raised.
Dude, yes.
It's a great album.
And I just, for some reason, in the past few years, everyone's like too proud to say John Mayer. But that's John fucking Mayer. It's John
Yes. Yes.
Mayer. Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm shocked you didn't say the Jonas Brothers. Honestly, a little disappointed.
No, I've matured past that phase.
Honestly,
Yep.
their new music is not bad.
The
Actually,
new album.
to be totally honest, just for the scale of musicianship, what I would prefer is I can't remember if this is part of it, but if I'm part of the lineup, just
Yeah.
take
Mhm.
me out of the lineup and just put me in like I'll be in John's band or part of the
Mhm.
backing band for one of the other ones, and the Jonas Brothers can also be on the bill, and I'm accept. I don't need to be on that motherfucker. Let me just be part of it, but I don't need to be part of it like that.
You're also
Yep.
not the only one that has said that.
No.
Yeah, dude.
No. Our same guest that is obsessed with John Mayer also said the same thing. He's
He
like,
was
take
like,
me out. I
take
want
me out of
another
it,
one.
man.
I just want to watch.
Yeah, that's fine. I accept. Like
Let the
put me in the
legends
band.
do the legend thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we've come to the final question. This has been amazing.
So fun.
So fun getting to know you, getting to know your story, talking about John Mayer and the Jonas Brothers.
Yes.
Why do you write songs?
I think it ties into what we were talking about earlier of what I think is the most important thing about songs. Um, I write songs because I love stories and I love storytelling. I think people are put on this earth for specific reasons and with specific gifts. You know, people are put on earth to be doctors and help people and to be elementary school teachers and teach the youth and be lawyers and plumbers and all sorts of things. And I think songwriters are, honest to God, I think songwriters are put on earth to help the rest of the world understand how to navigate their own feelings. Because I think a lot of people that don't have a creative tilt to them, I think they're human. They feel the full human experience and they feel happiness and joy and sadness and frustration. And I think a lot of times people don't understand how to express it or they're not comfortable enough with their own emotions to express it, which is why people have wedding songs that they dedicate to one another, or they have our song, or they have their breakup song, or whatever, because songwriters are put on earth to capture those emotions and put them in like a 3-minute box and be like, here you go, live with this bitch for the rest of your life. And not everyone gets to do that, and not everyone gets to do it at a high level as a professional. And for some reason, God or the universe decided that they were going to give this Korean Mexican kid from Long Beach the gift of storytelling through song. And I want to do my best every day to honor that gift.
So the song that you're sharing with us, or sharing with the audience, now that we're at the end of the episode, is "The Way You Break My Heart." Can you give us a little bit
Yes.
of background on that?
Yeah, so ironically, we spent the whole podcast talking about Troubadour Blue, which is the band that I'm in, that I tour with. And it's my full-time gig. But years ago, I teamed up with my friend Tristan Bushman and Gatlin, and we were all doing solo projects at the time, and we're like, hey, we should just do a record. And we were just kind of pitching songs to each other, and I had written this song with Tristan and our friend Lauren McLean, who signed over at Liz Rose. And we wrote it and we put it out into the world under the band name Sadie Hawkins. And the reason that honestly I sent this in instead of a Troubadour Blue thing is I don't really ever get to talk about Sadie Hawkins, and I'm really proud of this song. And the other day, it passed 3 million streams, and I mean, it never had any marketing or promotion or
Oh
anything.
my
It literally
gosh.
just we put it out into the world, and for some reason, like Spotify's algorithm liked it and put it on people's like daily mix, and also like radio, like Spotify radio and all this stuff, and it
Wow.
just keeps trucking along. And as a songwriter, I'm really proud to be a part of it, and it's the first song I've ever been a part of to have that much play, and so I sent it in.
That's
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Well, this is "The Way You Break My Heart" by Daniel Kim Ethridge.
Was I not good enough? Am I just not what you're looking for? Don't walk me to the door. I know my own way out. Are we not bad enough? Do I not fit in with your fake friends? Let me know if they're around when you hit the ground. But I'm done putting out fires. You start with cranberry vodka, hits too hard. I'm done building back bridges you burn in the dark. When it comes to I can't shake loose, so we go too far. I like the way you break my heart. You love a good fight, and I love to see you mad. I know when you look like that, it's gonna be a long, long night. But I'm done putting out fires. You start with cranberry vodka, hits too hard. I'm done building back bridges you burn in the dark. When it comes to I can't shake loose, so we go too far. I like the way you break my heart. String me along, drive me crazy when nothing's wrong. Call me baby, string